what is the future of the BBC? So the corporation will be 100 years old in 2027, but it looks as though to celebrate its centenary, the government is going to scrap the licence fee. It's a nice touch, that, isn't it, from the happy 100th, scrap your licence fee. The Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries said today that the licence fee will be frozen at £159 for 2 years and added that it is time to ask serious questions about the funding of the corporation going forward. So we can actually play a little clip. This is what she said in the House of Commons a few hours ago.
In the last few months, I've made it clear that the BBC needs to address issues around impartiality and groupthink. Those problems were highlighted definitively by the recent Sirota review, and the BBC's own leadership rightly recognised those findings in full and committed to deliver all of the review's recommendations in its 10-point action plan on impartiality and editorial standards. And I have had constructive discussions with the BBC about these issues in recent months. But the BBC now needs to put those words into action. It needs to convince the British public that those changes are in fact being made and to provide regular and transparent accounts of its progress.
Well, that was Nadine Dorries there in the Commons just a few hours ago. And to discuss this, I'm joined now by Paul Connew, who is a contributor to the book called The BBC at 100, Will It Survive? So pretty appropriate, let's be honest, given what we're talking about at the moment. And Rebecca Ryan as well, who is the campaign director for Defund the BBC. I did want to have I suppose maybe less of a debate, more of a discussion really, but we'll have to wait and see. So let's get cracking on see what you guys think about all of this. Rebecca Ryan of Defund the BBC. Well, do you think the BBC has any purpose whatsoever?
I don't think it has any more purpose than Netflix or Amazon Prime or any of these other, or ITV Hub or whatever. It makes the occasional good drama. And those people that appreciate what it does will be happy to pay a subscription fee for it. So I think that's where it's at. I think, the media landscape has moved on significantly, and it's time for the BBC to join, its peers in that. And we really welcome what Nadine Dorries has said, not only today, but yesterday. She was a bit punchier in that she said not only are they going to freeze the licence fee for 2 years, but after that, they will be reducing it further, and then this will be the last licence fee negotiation. So we're really, really happy with what she said, and we will be hoping that they stick to that, no flip-flopping.
Paul, I mean, the line coming out of pretty much anyone who's at the BBC at the moment on Twitter is, this is great value for money. It's something like 43p a day for all the services that we offer. It's not just about news, even if you think that might be a bit biased. David Attenborough does some lovely stuff.
Personally, I think the BBC does a pretty good job, but I'm a critic of the BBC as well as a defender of it. And Nadine Dorries came to the House this afternoon shape-shifting, rather like Boris Johnson's a shape-shifter, because what she briefed out yesterday via the Mail on Sunday and then on Twitter, and obviously infuriated the Speaker because this should have been done in Parliament, it was rather different from what she was actually saying in the House. And it's also a little presumptuous on her part to have said yesterday that the licence fee effectively ends in 2027, when in fact, who knows who will be in government in 2027, let alone what chance Nadine Dorries would still be Culture Secretary.
Well, one of the things
I'm from what was going on with the timing here. This is all part of Operation Red Meat, or perhaps Operation Dead Meat.
Hey.
The timing and the manner is designed to try to actually divert attention from Boris Johnson's woes and boost his ever decreasing
100%. Well, look, 100%. The timing of this and warships in the Channel and the fact that we might get a levelling up report from Michael Gove within weeks, it's not a coincidence, is it? Anyone can see that. It's clear as day. But Rebecca, are you concerned potentially about the fact that, all right, let's say the BBC goes, or let's say it moves to some kind of subscription model? Is there any chance that this could push the prices for everything up? And we talk about old people now maybe being fleeced out of 159 quid potentially if they have to pay the licence fee for a bit of company in their own home. Hang on a minute. If the BBC goes, could that number go up? Could they be paying for more for other things?
Yeah, more.
Well, no, because you can watch ITV, Channel 5, Channel 4, because they are funded by advertising. So you can watch all of those things. You don't have to, if people don't have broadband, and there's very, very few people in the country who don't have broadband now. But if you don't have broadband, you can, without the license, you could easily watch live TV because it's funded by advertising.
Well, Paul, I'm just going to say to you as well, isn't the BBC basically its own victim? I mean, it has seemed to crowbar political messaging. I mean, even into Call the Midwife, for goodness sake. I saw the Call the Midwife Christmas special as a reference to Brexit. It's not set in the same half century, as far as I could tell. There just seems to be a lot of overt political messaging, even in things like BBC dramas. And actually, that's not in step with what is a conservative country, by and large.
One of the curious things is that when you get polls taken, although the public will often criticise the BBC still gets a positive rating from much of the country, certainly a majority of the country. And when there is a major crisis, it's the BBC they turn to. We had Boris Johnson praising the BBC repeatedly during the pandemic crisis. And Nadine Dorries, in fact, was talking only, I think, 3 weeks ago in Parliament about the wonderful BBC World Service and the soft power it gave Britain, which is actually very, very true. I mean, we've talked through Brexit about soft power and Britain's global Britain, and in fact, the BBC is one of the few institutions that has global respect.
Well, hang on a minute. Some people would say, Paul, some people would respect Paul. OK, but some people would say, Paul, OK, that's fair enough if it gives us soft power abroad. But what use is that if it keeps trashing this country, if it keeps tearing us down, talking about our colonial past and our unconscious bias, and our Prime Minister is not fit for purpose?
I'm not a staunch BBC defender, but come on. When you look at it, the right think the BBC is too left, and the left is complaining the BBC is too right. You've only got to look at social media to actually see that. You could argue that if opposite sides both criticise you, you must be doing something right in the middle.
Well, there's that argument, Rebecca, and I'm going to put that argument to you. It is fair to say that people towards the left do criticise the BBC for bias, and people on the right criticise the BBC for bias. Maybe they're more straight down the line than people like you and I give them credit for.
No, that's a lazy argument that's been used time and time again, and it's not accurate. Actually, the political divide isn't left-right anymore. It's metropolitan versus sort of towns and countryside, and there's lots of left-wing people that support defund the BBC, and there's lots of right-wing people that do as well. It's mainly the metropolitan elite who are very well served by the BBC, who support it still. So, and they're very, very pointy-elbowed and deep-pocketed, and they manage to make their voices very well heard. So, no, it's not about left-right bias at all. It's about a metropolitan bias, and that's played out over and over again in polls.
OK, Paul, 43p a day. People can choose to pay that if they want, can't they? What's the problem?
The difference is, as you were implying earlier on, Patrick, in fact, you'd probably end up paying a lot more than that if you were relying on. I mean, I like Netflix, I like Amazon Prime, I have them all, but they would not give you the same quality of news coverage, the same diversity of programming, and they certainly wouldn't give the sort of news coverage that the BBC gives. So you can't just simply say a subscription service, would work and replace the BBC. It was also interesting in the Commons today. You didn't hear very many Tory voices supporting Nadine Dorries. In fact, they looked a bit embarrassed because she also didn't seem to have any real coherent explanation or even perception of where the BBC would be going or how it would be funded or what its future would be under her plan. And she said, we want to have a debate. Well, yesterday you'd have thought she'd made a decision. But Nadine Dorries is hardly a neutral voice on this. Her long history of denigrating the BBC, and I've done that on occasion, certainly, it makes her a rather less than, should we say, fair-minded or uncommitted
Potentially, but views do have quite a lot of support. It's fair to say. Paul, look, thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Paul Connew there is a contributor to a book called The BBC at 100, Will It Survive? And of course, Rebecca Ryan joined him as well, who is the campaign director for Defund the BBC. What did you make of that, ladies and gentlemen? GB Views at gbnews.uk. I'm sure they're flooding in thick and fast. Make sure you keep them.